I'd like to welcome the uniquely talented, innovative, ambassador, and enigmatic panelist, Jonathan Scales. Jonathan, how are you feeling?
I'm doing pretty good. Happy to be here. Happy to talk to you. So yeah, how are you
Anyway,
doing?
thanks for taking the time to do this.
Yeah.
Jonathan, in the Steelpan community, you are recognized for having created your own idiom in the Steelpan genre. How did this come about?
Um, so long story short, I actually started off as a saxophone player when I was maybe in the sixth grade. Started off as a saxophone player, and also at that same time, I started really getting into composition. So I started writing music when I was about 10 or 11. And then later on, from the saxophone, I got really into drumline, like percussion stuff, like in high school. And then it wasn't until I got to college that I found Pan. And there was a steel band at the college I went to in North Carolina.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, so that's where I started, was in college, actually.
I see.
Yeah.
Now, of course, your distinctive or influence, I should say, is Bella Fleck's music. So, which one came first, the Bella Fleck influence or the Pan?
So the Pan came first. That's actually, no one's ever asked me that before. Uh, so the Pan influence came first,
Ah,
but I guess the trick is, because I was already coming into Pan as a composer, I kind of
yeah,
already had my ideas of, you know, I was already forming my voice because I'd been writing music since I was, 10 or 11. So I guess I was already kind of forming my voice. So then when I started playing Pan, it just, my musical voice kind of naturally transitioned to the instrument. And the reason why Bela Fleck's influence was so big for me is because um, I didn't really realize I was doing something different on Pan. You know what I mean?
okay.
Because like
Yeah,
I'm not from Trinidad. I wasn't raised in that world, so I knew that it was different, but I didn't know that
right.
that was a big deal or that anybody would care. I was just doing my thing. That's it.
I see. I
And
see.
then when I saw what Bela Fleck was doing, it was inspiration because people don't expect that out of the banjo. So it was more just like a parallel kind of influence where like I
Gotcha.
was like, man, if he can do that on the banjo and it's cool, then maybe I can just keep doing what I'm already doing. You know what I mean?
That's sweet. That's sweet.
Yeah.
So, how, what attracted you to the pan, and how did you really get into playing the pan?
So honestly, like I said, there's a steel band at the college that I went to called Appalachian State, and they have like a little 20-piece steel band. And when I was a freshman, incoming freshman, some of my friends were saying, "Hey man, you should try out for the steel band. It's really fun. We get to, you know, travel and play music, and it's a good time." And I wasn't really interested in it, honestly, because I just came to school to be a composer. I wasn't trying to pick up a new instrument on the first week of school.
Yeah.
Um, but so they convinced me to at least go to the pan yard and just to like see the drums,
Yeah.
see the pans, and like maybe just play a little, try to like make some sounds and see what I felt. And I think that that was it. Like I went to the pan yard. You know, they let me just hold some mallets and just tap around, and then I was like, all right, all right, all right, I think I can get into this. And so from there, I just like got really obsessed with it. Just it just
Yeah.
took that was it. It
Panjambi
just
got you.
exactly, exactly.
Okay. So initially, when you were in that band, what kind of music were they playing?
It was definitely a mix. Some of it was traditional in terms of like they would do some panorama stuff. Like we
Yeah.
did the like the Renegades, Pan in A minor. We would do
Yeah. The classic.
like yeah, like birthday party, like Booksy Sharp, like
Yeah.
stuff like that. And then we also do like more popular tunes that people might know because we did a lot of like school gigs and stuff. So
Gotcha.
we would do some Disney music, or we would do some like popular music, or just classic music. We did like a whole range of stuff.
Nice. Nice. Very
Yeah.
nice. Okay. So let's move along here. So I read an article which says that you grew up listening to Dr. Dre and Eminem, then you studied classical saxophone and orchestral music, and you wanted to integrate that into your personal expression. So, how do you integrate all these influences on pan?
So honestly, for me, it's a pretty thoughtless process. I never sat down and was thinking, okay, so I'm interested in, you know, this hip hop music, but I'm also interested in this like modern classical music, like Stravinsky and stuff like that. But then I'm
Yeah.
also interested in like these things. I just kind of, honestly, I just made the music that came natural to me, and it's kind of like language, like you hear something that you like the sound of, you pick it up for your own voice. You hear something over there you like the sound of, you pick it up for your own
Yeah.
expression, and it was just a matter of that. So honestly, I never thought about it. So it's funny when
Yeah.
sometimes people write articles and they say like how I combined these things. Sure, like it
Yeah.
is a combination of stuff, but like it wasn't a
Yeah.
thing that I thought about,
Yeah.
if that makes
Just
sense.
naturally evolved.
It just kind of naturally evolved like that, and I guess like I was open to hearing different ideas and open to different styles, and so I guess like me being open to all that stuff from an early age probably had a big influence on that. But you know, it would be nice to say that I like woke up one day and had this great idea
Yeah.
to like take a whole new direction, but you know, yeah.
It's very good. So, how old were you when you decided that you wanted to be a musician?
No one's ever asked me that either, actually. Not quite in that way. So I can tell you that I
Did,
started playing music when I was about 10 or 11.
uh-huh.
Um, but in terms of doing that for a career, I wasn't really sure. But you know what I will say is, like I said, started playing at like 10 or 11, also started writing music at that time. And then when I was in maybe like ninth grade, that's actually when I got serious about writing music.
Uh-huh.
So, um, yeah, ninth grade is when I was really serious about writing music. I used to listen to like Johann Sebastian Bach and just like listen to how all the parts interweave and like just
Yeah.
really like absorb that stuff.
Wow.
And I would say that when I was a senior in high school, um, thinking about going to college, um, I saw I saw a movie in the theater with my parents. It was the remake of Planet of the Apes, and when I heard the
Mm.
music on there, that's when I realized that I wanted to pursue composition, like just full on, and wanted to go study composition. So that moment actually is what inspired me to go on to study composition.
I get you. So, at that time, you're looking at your life as a musician. Uh, what are you envisioning? What are your ambitions? What do you see yourself doing as a musician?
So at that time, I saw myself being a like a film composer. I wanted to write music for movies. Is really
Gotcha.
that was really the goal. Like after high school, going into college, that was really the ultimate goal. So at that point, I hadn't even seen Pan yet.
Yeah.
I hadn't been exposed to Pan yet. But at that time, my goal was, yeah, I think I'm gonna be a film score composer. Um, yeah, I knew
Man,
that much.
I'd love to have film score with you on Pan. Seriously. You ever thought about that?
Uh, y- so I mean, I feel like that's like a whole nother industry that like if I was approached to do that, then I would. But then again, I can't say that it would be pan based. I can't say it for
Yeah,
sure because like I'm thinking purely as a composer. I'm thinking like what does the piece need? If the piece needs
I get
pan,
you.
I'll have a pan. But if it needs like a string section, like that's what I went to school for was
Yeah,
composition. So
naturally.
I'm kind of coming into it from that angle, you know, and that's kind of why
Gotcha.
if you see some interviews of me, I'll always say that I'm a composer first and I'm a pianist second, and
I
that's
gotcha.
no disrespect to the pan. It's just where I came
Huh.
from. I started writing music when I was about, like I said, like 11 years old, where I would just I was scribbling stuff that didn't make sense because I just wanted to write music so bad, you know.
Yeah.
So I just developed that skill over time. So yeah, I just relate more to that. So I'm very happy that you know I found Pan and that it was like the perfect vehicle for just my ideas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent. So you've traveled the world sharing your talent and really promoting the instrument in a unique way. What's the most exciting thing or gig that you ever did with respect to Pan?
The most exciting gig that I've done. Um, you know, do I have to pick just one?
No, no, go ahead.
Okay.
No, 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 go ahead.
I can give you like a range because like there's it's all so different, you know.
Yeah.
I will say the first time I played in Trinidad was I would say it was a pretty important thing for me, which
Yeah.
was I want to say that was 2008. I played at a
Uh-huh.
festival called Jazz Artists on the Greens,
Yeah.
and I remember that was a big deal for me because like I'd been to Trinidad before that. I had been to Trinidad before that, but I never played my own music there. And I remember thinking like, all right, should I throw in like a familiar tune so that everybody can kind of like get used to me or whatever? And
Yeah.
I remember making an executive decision saying no, like do my thing, just go in there. Maybe people will like it, maybe they won't like it, but whatever I do, I'm just gonna go there and just do what I do. And so I remember that was kind of a pinnacle point for me because it actually was it was well received when I
Yes.
played in Trinidad. And of course, there were people who probably were not fond of it. Um,
Yeah.
but like there was enough love shown from that trip that it definitely inspired me to keep going and made me felt like I had a place in the art form.
Very
Yeah,
good. Very good.
yeah. And if I can
And you
throw in a
said there were
couple
a couple
other,
other gigs.
yeah, like for example, um, like when I played in Mauritania in West Africa,
Yeah.
and
Ah.
that was special because I'd never been to Africa before, and just the fact that you know, as like the pan is what brought me to Africa.
Yeah.
Just because I developed my voice on this instrument and I was asked to come do this thing, like I may have never gotten that opportunity without that. Like it was really special to kind of,
Wow.
to go to Africa. And then also playing in Japan was actually a pretty big deal for me too. Just
Yeah.
because um, it was so, what I was doing was so well received
Yeah.
there that it was, unforgettable moments.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you've been to China too, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
You did. Yeah. I saw
Yeah.
some clips of that. I was really, I mean, I was taken.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the wild part
So,
about China is I was gonna say that like, you know, let alone like not seeing Pan there that much, like they don't really see black people that much. So especially in the parts of
yeah.
China that we were traveling to, it wasn't like the capital. It was like
Yeah.
we were out in the random parts of China, and
Wow.
people would literally stop us to take pictures with us. It was kind of weird,
Must have
but
been
you just had to
magical.
understand culturally that like they didn't mean any
Yeah.
disrespect. They never saw people like us.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
yeah.
Amazing. Amazing. Wow. So, on the other hand, what's the most challenging thing you have had to deal with in your exploration of the instrument and your style of music?
Um. So there's a couple ways to answer that. I'm getting really into philosophy and things like that lately. So I would say that the most challenging thing would come from within myself,
Yeah.
and that would be like looking at other players and seeing all these great, amazing players, like Liam Teague and Andre White and
Yeah.
Kareem Thompson and Victor Provost and Andy and Boogsy and like just the list goes on. The list goes on like
Yeah.
Earl Brooks Jr. like everybody. Like so I think a challenge for me has been um to just like say okay cool, like I have my place that I'm in and that's okay, and I haven't been playing since I was born,
Yeah.
like some of those people were since I was young, and also to like find the right balance of inspiration versus like you know the validation of just like, hey, keep doing what I'm doing, while at the same time being like, wow, like I want to learn
Yeah.
what that was that he just did, or like I want to learn like
Yeah.
how like a cat like Andre like does this thing in a certain way. So like finding
Yeah.
that balance, because it could be very overwhelming. Like even for me, who's done all this stuff or whatever, it could be very overwhelming for me to like see some of my role models in pen and
Yeah.
just feel like, all right, I quit. you know?
Are you aware that some people look at you in that vein?
Yeah, yeah. But that's part of that's part of the mental psychology
Yeah.
about it all, and that's a natural part of the whole process. But so I guess like the challenge is to like find the perfect balance with that, because
Yeah.
it's good to like see people pushing the boundaries and take inspiration from that, but then also recognize that everybody has their own voice and everyone's doing their own thing. So
Yeah.
you know, I would say that that probably is the biggest challenge on that internal level, and of course like that extends into um, like sometimes I'll see on certain message boards or comments or things like that where like people might say stuff about me that is like not favorable, and that stuff, it really doesn't really bother me that much anymore. Like it used
Yeah.
to kind of get under my skin a little bit because that's what happens when you're
Yeah.
young up and coming musician. Everybody wants to be validated or understood at least. um, but I think that for me, I've come to that place where like I recognize that like what I do is not for everybody,
Yeah.
and I'm lucky to say that it's for enough people that I've been able to make a sustainable career for myself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
That segues right into my next question, which is, what do you say to your detractors who don't understand or appreciate the path that you've taken with band?
nothing. I don't. What do I say to them? I don't have. There's nothing for me to say. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, like seriously, like, and I used to say stuff
Yeah.
like actually on the internet. I remember one time, when Steel Talks, they posted like a video of mine. When Steel Talks has always been a very big supporter of mine. One
Yes.
time they posted a video, and underneath there was like this one negative comment that was like, I don't understand what he's doing with this music and this and that. And I saw that, and I replied a whole paragraph, and I was like, well, so this A section was inspired by this particular thing, but then I just I took this concept and then blah blah, and I like wrote this whole paragraph about like what I'm doing on this one
Yes.
piece of music, and then they replied and was like, oh man, like this is amazing. They flipped. So, but then I realized, like, what am I gonna do? Like, every time somebody doesn't like something, I'm gonna explain my method and like what I. So once you like you kind of grow out of that a little bit, and then
Yeah.
so you say, some people it's not for them, and some people it is, and and then there's still things like, even as recent as like a month ago, I've gotten a personal message in my inbox saying, hey Jonathan, you should do a calypso album, or like a a tribute to Trinidad album, and I'm just like, I love Trinidad, I love that music, but like that's not my voice, it's not what I do,
Yeah.
like I I'm very dedicated to just continuing like my art and my expression, and I- you know and some people are not going to like that,
Yeah.
and that is what it is. And
Yeah.
and also there's enough people who are doing amazing in those regards
That's right.
that
Yeah.
like I don't think the world's missing anything from like me not doing a tribute to Trinidad album,
Yeah.
especially since like you know in the core of it, I'm not from there.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like I have all love and respect, but like, I feel like I show my respect by just taking the instrument around the world and like letting people know where it's from and like being real with it on that level, but also recognizing that like I came up in a different lineage.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, that's very good. So, what are you excited about right now? What are you working on? What creative projects are you focused on right now?
So the biggest thing that I'm working on right now is just honestly, like my band, JonathanScales Orchestra,
Yeah.
which is a trio. Um, Long story why it's called the orchestra. We won't get
Right.
into that today. Um,
Okay.
it's not that big deal. It's just a name. It's just a name. But
I know.
so the biggest thing for me right now is just working on the orchestra, and I run the whole thing, like not only as like the composer, but like the business side of it, like the
Yeah.
management of it, and so
Wow.
like the orchestra is my biggest vehicle to get my music out to the world. So like um, I'm in a position right now where like I'm able to like do a lot of like planning and figuring things out and figuring out where are we going to go next and how to make that happen and
Yeah.
stuff that's like not that has nothing to do with the music part of it,
Right.
but it takes
Right.
so much time, and I found that to be important. In order for me to get my music out there, I have to equally think about that part,
Right. Right.
you know so like my job is like like right now I'm sitting in my office at my desk, and this is
Yeah.
where I'm like talking to the agents, talking to the management people, figuring out how to connect the dots, figuring out like, cool, how do we get back to Colorado? Cool, how do we get back to Europe?
Wow.
Like piecing things together.
Yeah.
Um, and then other than that, like on the artistic side, just becoming a stronger player, I think is
Yeah.
like, at the forefront of my work as like on the artistic side, just
Yeah.
like absorbing and listening and just like trying to find more creative ways for myself to navigate through the instrument that
Yeah.
feels genuine to me.
Right. Right.
You know what I mean? Like continuing to develop my voice in a way that feels genuine to me. I think
Yeah.
that's the artistic side of what I'm kind of working on now.
Great. Great. Are you still doing the Scales and Friends series?
Uh,
Is that an
so
ongoing thing?
so I had to put the series to rest because so I live in Brooklyn, and that series, if you've seen it, it all took place in one
Oh
apartment.
yes.
That was my
Yeah.
apartment. It was a studio apartment, and I moved to another apartment,
Ah, I see.
and which
Okay.
is like, and this apartment is not necessarily set up for that. So
I see.
I kind of took that as a sign to like take a break a little bit,
I
to like
get you.
regroup, to kind of figure out what might be the next step. But
Okay.
in taking a break from Scales and Friend, I realized how much work it was to put that on. Um, because not only was it like, okay, I have to learn music every time someone comes over, and usually the person would bring in the song. So like I'm learning the music from scratch. I'm also
Yeah.
the audio engineer for that. I'm running the three cameras, making sure all the cameras are in focus, blah blah. The lighting, running the lighting, doing editing. So
Wow.
yeah, doing the video editing, doing the mixing, making the thumbnails for YouTube, having to keep my apartment clean the whole time.
Wow.
Playing host to the artist comes over, like make sure they get water and everything. It was like a one man operation,
Man.
and so yeah, I did 80 of those episodes, and I think that
Wow.
yeah. So right now it's like an indefinite hiatus. So if it ever does come
Yeah.
back, it's not going to be in the same form because the studio, which was my apartment, is no longer mine.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So, kind of another question similar to something I've asked you before. What do you envision as your ultimate achievement? What's that vision, that ultimate vision you think will make you feel fulfilled?
These are some deep philosophical questions.
Yes, there's a method to my madness.
Yeah. Okay. And like I told you, like I'm really into like philosophy and stuff, especially these days.
Yes.
So like it's perfect. And I think honestly, for me to be able to create music that comes from within myself that's very genuine, and me be able to continue to have a livelihood at that. That's it. So
Yeah.
I'm already doing that. You know what I mean?
Ah, yeah.
And I think that that's really important because I think that sometimes, like, you know, if you're chasing something psychologically, who knows, like, life happens, you know,
Yeah.
you can set yourself up for, like, if what happens if you don't get that thing, or what happens once you get there, what are you going to want then? You know, it's always a
Yes.
constant
Yes.
climb, you know?
Yeah.
So I think that I'm at a point now where, like, I take account of where I am and I say, okay, I get to play Pan. I get to play my original music on Pan exclusively with my band, and I get to make a living at that, through one way or the other, whether it's through my band or whether someone hires me to play because they know me from my band, or
Yeah.
whether someone hires me to write music for them, or whether someone hires me to teach a clinic or to teach a composition lesson.
Yeah.
Um, it's all under the umbrella of, like, you know, I was able to establish this foundation. And I think that, like, that's the ultimate goal at the end of the day. Of course, like, I'm going to keep pushing at that.
Right.
But I always have to keep that in my head so that, like, if there's, like, a time where I get discouraged or something,
Yeah.
like, I can always come back to that because, like, at the end of the day, like, I am doing the thing that I thought of doing, like, 20 years ago or 17 years ago. Like, I'm doing it,
Yeah.
you know? So, like, of
Okay.
course, there's other festivals I want to get into, and, like, bigger venues, and, like, more ticket sales and more record sales, and there's
Right.
all that. But, like, that's not like a that's not like a there's no top of the mountain to that. That just keeps going forever,
I get you.
you
Yeah.
know? So,
Okay. But along that path, there are always milestones.
mhm,
Could you point to one milestone that
sure.
seems to point to you that you're moving in the right direction?
Yeah, so I would say, I mean, there's, like, obvious things, like, it'd be cool to have a Grammy or something, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
There's things like that that and, like, I've gone for the Grammy multiple times, like, making it into, like, not to the nomination round, but the round before that.
Yeah.
I've entered, you know, many times. It's a very crazy process. And in that process, I also realized, you know, at the end of the day, even when I don't get a nomination, I'm still living the dream, you know?
Yes.
So there's a little bit of that. Also, I guess, like, uh, I guess I like to do more, like, more festivals and things like that, like, outside of
Yeah.
the realm that I'm already doing. So, like, for a good example is, like, sometimes there's these big jazz festivals, and they know about us, but
Mm-hmm.
because they're not used to Pan and they're not used to different things, they're not sure where to put us. So
Right.
there's a lot of festivals, and this is kind of like a touchy subject because I hope when people see this, no one gets upset, any promoters and things like that. But
Yeah.
there's a lot of promoters and things where, like, they don't really know what to do with me.
Yeah.
So, but then when they do give us a chance, it kind of, you know, goes way above their expectations, and then now we're
Right.
in the door. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
That's what my
I
career has
get you.
been the whole time. So,
Yeah.
like, there's a lot of things that, like, I know that, like, we should be playing this festival or that festival, or, like, but those promoters, they know us and love us, but they're like, yeah, we're not sure, you know, we're just not sure. And then finally they see us somewhere else, and then that opens other
That's it.
doors. So, like,
Yeah.
I think one of the hardest parts about this process is just, like, having to grind so hard just to show another gatekeeper that, like,
Yeah.
hey, we're able to do this. Yeah.
Wow. So, what does your tour schedule look like right now?
So right now, the thing that we're kind of, the way that's kind of shaping up for this year is kind of like every month maybe we're doing maybe like a 10-day run like every month, which is a
Yeah.
little different than what we've typically done. We've always kind of like toured in kind of spurts. So maybe we would
Yeah.
do like 2 weeks here, or 2 weeks on, and then 2 weeks off, and then like 4 days on, and then a month off, and then 3 weeks of touring, and then like nothing for a month, and then like one random show, and then like, because like especially what we're doing, it's sometimes it can be a little hard to, because we have our hands in so many pots,
Yeah.
in different scenes between like, like the jazz world and like the jam band world, and then like the steel band world, and then like, the funk music, the club scene thing. So like in the festival circuit, and then like, school gigs and things like that. So we're kind of all over the map in terms of that. And the good part
Yeah.
about that is, um, a lot of opportunities come in from all angles. But then to like put that together in a reasonable way to where like, you know, we walk out the house and we have like a solid schedule,
Yeah.
is that's the challenge. So it's something that we have to like play by ear. But like right now it's looking like for each month we have like a, you know, like a 10-day run of like a
Yeah.
string of shows in different regions and things like that. Yeah.
Great. Great. What cities do you most look forward to performing at, and why?
So for me, the cliche, even though it's a cliche, I always look forward to playing in New York. So
Hmm.
even though I live here, uh, because of just like the historical context of just this place, um,
Yeah.
like, yeah, it sounds kind of nerdy or something like that, but like just thinking that like, Miles Davis was here, like John
Yeah.
Coltrane was here, like just kind of thinking about the historical context of stuff. It just kind of puts me in a certain spirit, and it kind of just, and also it's not easy, like playing shows in New York. There's so much going on.
Yeah.
So people have so many different options of what to do every night. So to me, when people come to a show in New York, it's even more special because there's so many things that they could be doing.
Yeah. I get
You
you.
know, so
Yeah.
so on those levels, I really like playing New York, and then also it's where I live now, so it's kind of like a hometown show for
Yeah.
me. But then outside of New York, uh, I've been really enjoying playing on the West Coast.
Uh-huh.
Especially, we get a lot of love in like California and Oregon and Washington
Yeah.
State.
It's a different vibe.
It's a different vibe. Yeah, and because we don't make it
Yeah.
out there that often,
That's
we
right.
tend to get a lot more love
Yeah.
because they don't know when they're going to see us next. So
Right.
people come out. Yeah.
So, is there an artist or panelist or otherwise with whom you would love to perform that you haven't yet?
Mm. So particularly like artists or panists or
Just anybody.
okay, so there's so everyone knows that I'm into, Bela Fleck, the banjo player.
Yeah.
And that whole world has opened up a whole other world of musicians for me. But there's a guy named Chris Thiele, Thile, and he plays the mandolin, and he's
Uh-huh.
just a genius. He's a complete genius, and we know each other, but we never worked together. It would
Okay.
be great to make music with him, just because to see how his mind works and to see like what I can take from that and to convert into my own way on the pan.
Yeah.
That's also a lot of what I do when I take a lot of my inspiration. I try to see like how can I take this type of sound and try to make it happen with my instrument.
Great.
So
Great.
yeah,
Have you ever thought about doing a concert featuring arrangements of your music for a full steel orchestra?
it's interesting that you asked that. So I actually do have something that already is out there that is a little bit underground. A lot of people don't know about it, but
Ah.
I released this album called Mind State Music, and it's arranged for my band with a full steel band. And
Ah,
it's kind of like a concerto almost. So it's like a
yeah.
6 movement concerto that
Wow.
features my trio, like with a full, you know, steel pan orchestra.
Yeah.
And so we got to do that for the recording, which is the album Mind State Music.
Yeah.
Um, and then we've performed it a few times. The next time we're doing it, I think we're doing it in April at University of Florida.
Oh, great.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep. But I would like to do it more.
Yeah.
Now that you
Yeah.
mention it,
Yeah.
yeah. And because I
I would
also
think
feel
that
like,
that would be interesting.
yeah, I feel like the Mind State Music concerto is like, I feel like, you know, uh, the Steelpan fraternity would really be into it, but it's kind of this underground thing where a lot of people don't know about it. You know,
Yeah.
there's like a lot of there's some college bands that are playing it. We
Ah.
did it at Appalachian State, and then we also premiered it at outside of Houston, Texas, at San
Yeah.
Jacinto College. Um, but but yeah, I hope to play it more, and I hope that it
Yeah.
kind of gets out there. But it's kind of one of those like underground things that like
Yeah.
people don't really know that I did. Even when they
Yeah.
know me closely, they
Wow.
might not even know that I did that. Yeah,
Wow. Interesting.
yeah.
So, equipment. Who built your pans?
Okay, so uh, my pans were built by this guy named Keith Moon, who works with Manette.
Okay.
But it's kind of an interesting story. I don't want to get too deep into it, but he was working with Manette,
Yeah.
but these aren't technically Manette pans.
I get you.
He kind of branched out to build
Right.
these pans for me. Yeah,
I see. I see. I get
yeah.
you. And what mallets you play with?
All right, so that's another good question. So I actually have these mallets that were custom built for me by Mallet Man,
Yeah.
and
That's the
they're kind of
man.
special. Yeah, they're kind of special because for a long time I got a lot of criticism because the tips that I was using were too thin. So like in
Ah.
the first part of my career, my sound was a little more harsh, honestly, because I wanted a certain tone and I wanted a certain attack that I wasn't able to get with the normal double second mallets,
Yeah.
right? So at the time, Mallet Man would just give me just like these scrap thin tips that nobody would use, and that's
Yeah.
what I used. So, but then over the course of the years, I kind of try different things, develop my sound, and then recently we worked on this mallet that is interesting because all right, you got the aluminum, but then you see how that part is wood right there.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so what's interesting about this is, so this rubber tip is thinner, or it's thicker than what I used to use, but
Yeah.
it's thinner than the average double second tip, and so that wooden cylinder is
Yeah.
actually thicker, a little bit thicker than the actual aluminum. So the rubber is stretched.
Ah, get you.
You
Yeah.
see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So what I'm able to do with that, thanks to Malaman, is I'm able to have like a nice tone on the low end, but still
Nice.
cut through on like the very, very top end
Yeah. Yeah.
with good tone like all the way through.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent.
So we're
Yeah.
hoping to maybe have like a custom mallet one day where people can get
The Jonathan Scales version.
signature
Yes.
series mallets. But as of right now, there's only two. Right now, there's only two pair of them, and they're here. Yeah.
Nice. So who's your main tuner?
All right, my main tuner is a guy named Steve Lowry, who
Yeah.
I'm gonna say it like this: if you don't know Steve Lowry, he's a white South African who came
Yeah, I know
to
Steve.
the U.S. a long time ago,
Yeah.
and I just have to say it like this to be for real. Like he's like a scientist, you know. He's
Yeah.
a scientist, and I think that he also can be a controversial figure in Pan because he's such a scientist that his number one objective is to get the best sound. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
And so I think that has made him kind of controversial because in order to get the best sound, he might do something that's not traditional.
Yeah.
You see what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so I don't want to go too far deep into that because, like,
That's
that's a
a
whole nother rabbit hole. And, like, I don't know enough of the science behind it to talk about it. But, like, I've spent enough time with Steve to see, like, okay, this person is like, this person is a scientist, like a mad scientist. And,
yeah.
he's able to get his sound because of, like, very specific, like, mathematical equations and, like, formulas. And it really works. And, I think some of his methods kind of defy tradition a little bit, but
Yeah.
also I think that's also part of the innovation of the instrument, the fact that people like Steve Lowry exist too. So
Yeah.
it's all part of the greater pan spectrum.
Nice. Nice. So, give me 5 pan players that you like listening to and you appreciate their work.
Okay. All right, I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna do this, but if anyone doesn't make the top 5, it's no disrespect. It's nothing like that.
No
It's
particular order, just
no
5 pan
particular
players.
order.
Yeah.
I'll give you 5 of them, and it's not the top. It's just like 5, right?
Yeah. Okay.
So okay. So first, I've been really singing the praises a lot of Andre White as a double second player.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can go down the rabbit hole, but like, let's say like whenever I go see him, whenever he's playing in Brooklyn and I go see him, I'm just standing to the side, just like taking notes, like kind of checking out what he's doing, checking out how his brain's working. So I really appreciate Andre White. Really appreciate Liam Teague. And honorable mentions to his son, Jaden.
Oh man, yeah.
Right? Yeah.
I got them lined up for the next interview actually.
Cool. I'm gonna put them into one right now.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say Victor Provost. He was one of the first people that like really expanded my mind to like just the depths of where someone could go with instruments. So I'm gonna say Victor Provost. All right, I'm gonna throw another one. I'm gonna say, do you know Jelani Roberts?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm gonna say Jelani. I just did a school gig with him the other day in Brooklyn. Just like we just played at like a school assembly thing.
Yeah.
And he's just so solid. He's such a solid player.
Yeah.
That like, like I just learned a lot just from his approach of just being just like a, like a solid like. Just I can't put it into words right now. It's just like something about his approach was like really refreshing.
Yeah, he's
You know
under
what I
the
mean?
radar right now, but I'm aware of him. Yeah.
Exactly. And I'm gonna say this is so hard. I'm gonna say Earl Brooks Jr.
Okay.
Yeah. I think he has like a certain like fiery approach that I appreciate.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna round this up. Where can people find you and your music online and your website? I'm gonna put a link down in the bottom,
cool.
but you can tell us.
I always tell people that the easiest way they can find me, just so they don't have to think about anything, is just like Google. If you Google Jonathan Scales, everything comes up. If you go to your favorite search engine and type it in, everything comes up. But Instagram is where I do most of my posting and stuff these days. At JonathanScales. YouTube channel.
Okay.
Those are the main sources, but I'm on all the stuff. I'm on YouTube. I'm on Facebook. I'm on TikTok. I'm on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it now. It's like part of the thing. It's like to be where the people are. So I'm everywhere.
Cool, cool. Jonathan, thank you so much for agreeing to come on the show and giving us some insight into your journey as a panelist. Really appreciate it, man.
All
And
right, thank you so
wishing
much.
you all the best for the rest of the year.
All right, appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, man. The Pan Players podcast is brought to you courtesy of Kakesa Pan Emporium, where you'll find steel pan products you never knew you needed. Check it out at kakesa.com. Thanks for tuning in, and don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. And turn on the notification bell so you get notified when the next video is released. Until then, kute cheo.